One of the things that's really hard to do once you've received or earned financial freedom is really communicate just how hard it was. You have heard Dion and myself talk about the first 5 years suck. We've heard people talk about I'm not where I thought I would be. You know what, folks? Dion has done you a solid. He has gone back through his 9-year journey. He's put together some very, very valuable charts, and we're going to have a discussion and really highlight what is expected versus actual. You must pay attention to this because hopefully this will de-stress your situation and you will know you are in an okay spot. Dion, very well done, man. This is important stuff.
No, I appreciate the chance to come on here and share this. This actually comes from a conversation with a friend of ours, Curtis, on YouTube. He's PE turned RE. He's been at the One Rental at a Time event. He's been at the Northwest Action Summit. He comes to our local meetups. And the other day, we actually jumped on the ferries, went over to Seattle and had lunch. And on that trip, he explained, he said, it's challenging to understand that I'm a third of the way into the journey, right? It's a 10-year journey. He's 3 years in, but I'm not a third of the way to my goal. And so
I get it.
From that, I thought, okay, I've talked about this. I think we've talked about this probably in at least 100 videos in the last 4 or 5 years.
Probably.
But have we ever put it into visible terms?
No, we haven't. And sometimes it's so simple. The picture is the right answer, right? The picture is the right answer because it really takes the words, the feelings, and really allows you not to ignore it. I think when we tell this story, it's like, yeah, but you're not me. But when you have these pictures, which we'll go through, it's really eye-opening. So you want me to bring the first one up?
Yeah, please do.
All right, here we go.
So this basically is what Curtis was saying, right? He has a 10-year journey. The bottom XY axis, bottom horizontal is 10 years. And the side is the monthly income goal. Now his might be 10,000. I put 20 because that was my result. Right. I figured if I started with a goal of where I got, this is what my brain would say. You're going to start with 0. 10 years later, you're going to have 20. It's a bumpy journey. It's probably going to suck. You're going to deal with tenants, toilets, and termites and evictions and permit offices. But it's just 10 years. And if you can see this progress happen like this, of course, you're going to stick with it. The idea is this is why investors give up.
Yes, exactly. This is why we talk about the first 5 years sucking. It's because you make mistakes. You don't get that momentum. There's no snowball. Your mind is playing tricks on you. The other thing that I get all the time is people look at our first deals and call it $200 and they're like, oh my God, I need 100. Kind of the same story in these charts. You don't need 100, right? You need some and time because time is your friend in this scenario. So I love this. And everybody, myself included, when I started at year 0, I did this same graph. I'm like, this is just how it works, right? That's just simple math. And it's just not.
And when we start, we think, okay, if I can get $200 a door, right? 200 a unit, that first question, how many doors do you have? Then how much do you make per door? We think if I want 20,000, that's a lot of doors.
Yeah. And they give
this
up.
Happened. Yeah. This happened for me with 8 properties.
Exactly.
18 units, 8 properties. And it's about 21,000 a month, but it was close enough to this. So in year 1, none of them made the money that would make 8 properties do it. Right. They're around a 10% return. I wasn't making enough money to have that big of an impact. But by year 3, it's usually around a 25 to 30% return.
Yeah.
And then by 6 and 7, and then it turns into this. So let's look at where Curtis is at that first 3 years. So at 3 years in, Curtis feels if my goal is to get to 20,000, I should be at 6. So if his goal was to get to 10,000, he should be at 3.
Correct.
3 years in, at the 2-year in mark, I closed on a duplex and reduced my housing expenses. I had a house rented out. It gave me another year to do the binder strategy and increase rents. At 3 years, I wasn't even making $1,000 a month.
Yeah, it's funny because if I were to go back and do quick math on our first 3 years, we had 3 units, I think, might have had 4, but yeah, we were under $1,000 as well. No question. We're probably right around the same number.
And our mind at 3 years in is, I've been working overtime. I've been skipping vacations for 3 years. I haven't been going out a lot. I'm driving the same old car. I should be making a third of my goal,
Mhm.
5 times what I'm making. Obviously,
Yeah,
this is
no,
never going to
yeah.
work. I better quit.
Yeah, no, this is and again, the other thing is you get family saying things like "I told you so." You see your friends bawling out, upgrading homes, upgrading cars, doing crazy vacations. The first 3 year or the first 5 years sucked for this reason and more. Yeah, I love this story. Do you want to jump to year 6 or no?
Yeah, we can go to year 6. We're doing this basically in thirds. So in year 6, we hopefully are understanding now. If we're still going with it, most people have quit long before this.
Absolutely.
And not just the first eviction, not just the first, I've got termites, I've got to replace a hole underneath a window. It's, this is not growing. My mind
No.
says I should be making $12,000 a year, a month, and I'm barely making 1,000. I was a fifth of the way there 3 years ago
Hmm.
to where I want to be. Now I'm a tenth of the way to where I want to be.
Right.
Uh, and this is, it's like that image of the person digging the gold mine, and they get
Yeah.
like within 2 feet of the vein of gold, and they walk away, and the other person is still digging.
Yeah. Well, I got a
But
story for you here that just should resonate. I helped several friends, I probably 5 or 6 friends, buy single family homes in Fresno, California in 2010, 11, and 12. I'm going to say their average purchase price was 75 grand. All but one sold in the first 5 years. They took what would have been, I don't know, they probably sold for 125 grand. So they made 50 grand, but it was not moving the needle because of this, right? They were 5 years in, they had 2 or 3 houses, and they're like, it's just a headache. I'm gonna take the profit and run. And then, of course, we all know what happened after 2016, 17, and they all of them have called me back saying I should have kept. I'm like, yeah, you should have kept it. It's crazy that you get so far, you're so close. That diamond analogy is perfect, and you just drop the shovel.
so I have a real life example for this stage too. If everybody is familiar at all with my story, I was working at a CDL school. I had been demoted down to president of the company, and the couple who owned the company, very close friends of mine, care about them very much. Right? They gave me an opportunity that no one else in my life ever did, and I ran with it. They saw what I was doing. They saw I was buying rentals. They saw I had a plan, and and when I first started buying rentals, I started looking in Arizona because we were going to put a campus there, and I was going to house hack in the desert, snowbird, had a plan. Um, they bought a couple of duplexes. They were like,
Hmm.
"We can do what Dion's doing." They took basically petty cash to them and said, "Oh, we'll just buy these," and they kept them for about 3 years. They never made it to even the 6 year point on those, and they sold them.
Hmm.
And then I went, if you remember my story, when I was recording your book, I went to Florida for 2 months to record most of it, did a lot of scuba diving, but I learned the market there, and they
Yep.
bought 2 single family houses and a duplex and a primary house that they kept for about 3 years.
Hmm.
And now they've moved to another state. Uh, they've offloaded the Arizona ones at 3 years. They offloaded the Florida ones at 3 years. They have never made it in a couple of attempts, and I love them like family, and it sucks to hear
Hmm.
him say it, but they are extremely jealous. No, they're almost deca millionaire profit company running people per year.
Right.
Like they're almost there. They're like 9, right? And they're jealous of my lifestyle
They could have had it. You
because it
just need
doesn't
to
matter
hold
how
on.
much money you make if you
Yeah.
have to work for it.
Yeah, no, that's the beauty of this is we're playing a time game where everybody else is chasing dollars. We chose to chase time. We bought our time, right? We've bought 30, 40, 50 years to do whatever the heck we want. And that's why I love the story. It's just we got to where we were comfortable and stopped, right? Not that we'll stop forever. We reserve the right to keep going, but yeah, the people that are chasing the next hurdle, the next thing, you just haven't figured it out yet.
So if we jump forward to year 9, it's between year 6 and year 9 where all of the levers start to exist.
Yeah.
You've had a few properties for 5 to 7 years.
Hmm.
You've had one for 4 years or so, and this is just the slow adding one every couple of years method. It's not even going out and getting 20 units in a year.
Mhm.
But now you have had opportunities to refinance to a better rate, opportunities to shop for a better insurance, raise your deductibles because now you have the money in reserves to handle a bigger deductible. You've had time to do value adds, had tenant turnover, not just the binder strategy, but tenants leave, you get a better rent increase. Maybe you turn that den into a bedroom. You've added fences to make a yard a fenced yard. You've had these things happen, and it's right between year 7 and 9 that you're like, wow, I can feel the momentum finally. But let's look at the numbers. In year 9, I wouldn't have retired, right? I've spent about $4,000 a month to live, and that's even forcing myself to go out and eat a bunch. But that's basically, I was a little over double. That's not a big enough safety margin. Some people could probably do that, and I probably could have been fine. But I wanted a safety net, and I
Yeah.
wanted to test my portfolio. So I started living on just rental income and saving most of it. Our brain says we're 1 year
Mhm.
from the goal. We should be $18,000 if our goal was 20.
Yeah, this is such a great mind F, because again, our minds go linear and since day one, and that's just not how this process works, right? Inflation's a feature, not a bug. You get opportunities to trade up, get lower rates, cheaper insurance. You get rental increases. It's you add value, you add parking, or it's just you need time. And I just love this visualization. But every time it's like you're not where you thought you would be. And again, as I said at the beginning, I did the same thing. I thought it would be linear. And folks, it is not linear.
No, and then here's where the real challenge comes in. You and Olivia and I and Matt figured out what enough was.
Yes.
Right now, he knows what his enough is, but he retired and is going to his enough. He's still in that growth mode, refinance, growth. You're doing a bunch of different things.
Mhm.
The real challenge is when you get to year 10 and you've experienced that exponential hockey stick impact. Imagine if I had stayed working one more year. The one
Oh,
more year
wow.
rule, right? Instead of 21,000 a month, I might have 30, 35 or whatever. But I would have lost a year of healthy retirement.
Yeah, that's the thing I'm really starting to get more of. It's not about, just more of life. It's about healthy life. It's about it being young enough and fit enough and healthy enough to enjoy things. I go back to all of those fancy cruises I go on, and these 80-year-olds who could frankly buy me with a check can't enjoy anything. It's like, wow, you're on a $50,000 cruise and you're off it for 15 minutes because you're tired or this hurts or that hurts. I'm like, wow, that's not okay.
My first cruise was that exposure to watching the people who couldn't even get off the ship, not even with tenders, just couldn't go down the ramp.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
they're staring at the Alaska landscape from the ship instead of going off and getting in a side by side and hoping you don't run
Yeah.
into a bear. And then I go to Santorini, and you go
Beautiful.
up those stairs. There's like 800 stairs or
Yeah,
something.
that's crazy.
And
Yeah.
every other ramp, there's a family of people that are too old to enjoy it, that are basically camping there for an hour to be able to go to the next ramp. And when you're around 50, you just kind of walk to the top and you're like, yeah, you're winded by the time you get to the top, but then you jump in a, whatever those vans are called, go over to the other side of the island and swim in the ocean.
Yeah.
I could be making so much more if I continued to work, but life wouldn't be worth it.
This is the enough thing. I mean, Coach Carson talks about it all the time. You talk about it all the time. It's like, guys, please know what enough is so you can enjoy life. We only get one go. And when the time is gone, the time is gone. I mean, how many more reminders do we need that tomorrow is not promised? I read, obviously everybody's heard about that horrible crash in India, right? The India airplane. I was on Twitter the other day, and there were so many posts about people that were on that, and they were doing their first vacation, or they were going to a wedding, or they were doing something in London for the first time. And in a blink of an eye, it's gone. Kobe Bryant, helicopter. I mean, it's just, how many more reminders do we need? Figure out what enough is. Don't let your mind play games on you. These charts are amazing, and people should go back and watch this, because too many people beat themselves up, right? I don't know if Curtis was doing this. I will tell you, I was doing it at year 3. I'll go back to year 3 for a minute. I was having very interesting discussions with myself, and going, why are we 642, and why aren't we 6,000, and this, that, and the other thing. So I just love this visualization. You want to go to the last slide?
Yeah, the last slide kicks in around year 6 to 7. You start to see this because that's, again, when those levers show up that you can start pulling. Some levers, like a video that I'm making later today with more charts like this that you probably won't like, on why I never touched my equity or added debt to an existing asset. But you could, at this point, you actually have that first property long enough to where you can add debt to it, buy more assets, increase the size of your portfolio, or you have the cash flow from those to start buying more. It builds up faster. Like, you have all of these options. Yeah. And when you start, the goal was to get to a point where you had options.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you a question, because I'm actually toying with this idea. So, that when Olivia and I retired, after we tested that, we paid off a few properties for what I call the oh shit pile, right? Just like the world's ending, everything goes, but these set don't go. One of the things I keep toying myself with, and to be clear, Olivia says no, so we don't do it, but I'm going to ask you anyway. One of the things I keep hearing is, the rich people, they borrow against assets because borrowed money is non-taxable, right? One of the things you've told me, I believe, I don't know if I think it's on air. To date, you haven't paid income tax on your rental income.
Not yet.
Right? Because of depreciation. If you ever get to that point, one of the things I toy with is, because again, last year we paid some income tax on rental income, to give you a flavor of how big that pile is. And one of the things I was thinking about was, what, why don't I go borrow $500,000, lever up, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 properties, whatever it is. And then that interest goes against those assets so that I'll have less income next year. And then I still have that $500,000 was non-taxable. I don't know. That's one of the things I'm thinking about doing. And then Olivia's like, do you need $500,000? I'm like, no, I don't need $500,000. Then why do you want more debt? I'm like, you're not listening. I don't want to pay taxes.
So the other version, the other topic that I was going to suggest we do today, right, is how I wish I had more debt. That's so ironic. That was written right here. I suggest this as one of the topics, how I wish I had more debt. But recently I made a video called my 70-50 rule.
70-50. Okay.
Yeah. And so 70 plus 50 equals 100. And this is how. So.
Okay. I've learned my lesson. I'll let you tell me the story first.
Get to the aha moment, right? So the 100%, the 100 is 100% confidence in your ability to stay retired.
Oh, okay. I got it. All right.
In growth mode, when we're scaling and we're adding and we want to get to that financial freedom number, I wanted a loan to value amount of 70%.
Yeah, roughly. Yep.
Right. Mm-hmm. So I'm getting the best levered appreciation, levered depreciation, and a safety buffer to where if I ever had to walk away from an asset, I didn't have to write a check. Right.
Exactly.
Like I had this mental peace that my money is working as hard as I can safely to get me to my goal.
Yep.
When I lost the safety that comes with that drug that kills our dreams, the paycheck, I lowered my loan to value goal to 50%. So I want about half my properties levered and not just like this one's paid off, this one's levered. It's the value across
the blend.
So I've got some paid off, some debt.
Yep.
And at 50, I still have the levered appreciation, the levered depreciation. I will get to a point where I still write checks to the government for that income. It'll still be there, right? So my gross value is a little over 7 million. My debt right now is about 1.5. So I'm far below the 50%.
Jesus, Dion, right? What the hell?
So I was talking with Matt. My goal in the next year or so is actually not only add a mortgage to one of my paid off properties.
Yeah, you have to. Yes.
And acquire one with debt to get me closer to that 50. So there are people watching go, I would love to have a paid off portfolio. That's the last thing I want, right? That's getting a whole bunch of money and it's not that you get to write off the interest. That's a terrible thing to do, to get a mortgage for. You write it off when you get it. But I want the levered depreciation that comes from why more debt is going to make me more money, more stable, and a better portfolio. So you don't have to go through your numbers. I'm small enough to where I can just transparently go, here's what I have. You can attain it. You're, you know, larger numbers. How close are you to 50% loan to value, and what would it take to get you there? And then you go back and you say, okay, well, maybe I'm only borrowing 700,000, or maybe it looks like I should borrow 6 million. Maybe I'll just borrow that million and get a little closer to 50%.
Right. We'll talk off air. I'll tell you after this video is over. That is such an interest. I love this 70-50 because again, that's unbeknownst to me, that's exactly what we did, right? For 15 years, anytime we got below 70% or I perceived we were there, I would go do a cash out refi or 1031 or something to get that up because I was in growth mode and we both had, you know, jobs and we just kept just humming along. And then we got retired and we purposely repositioned everything to go probably slightly below 50, but I mean, that was the target. And, you know, that was done in 2018. And if anybody's not paying attention, we've had just a little bit of appreciation since then.
A little bit.
So, yeah, this is, I'm going to go look that up. I'm going to go pull up my financial statement and see where we're at.
So one thing I'd like to close with on that statement where people go, there has been a lot of appreciation, so it must be nice. You're so lucky and all of that. The properties are worth about the same exact amount that they were 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago. What's happened is the dollar has lost value.
Yeah.
Do you think the dollar's not going to lose value in the next 10 years? Like, that's the whole point. We're lucky. If you buy today, look how lucky you could be. Exactly.
I use inflation to get rich. I created this shirt in 2020 because again, you don't have to like it. You don't have to like it. I don't like it. Inflation is a tax. It's regressive. It hurts the poor, yada, yada, yada. But if the game is the game, play the game. Don't rail against the game. And you too can have this income snowball. I love these charts. I wish I would have seen this in year 3. I would have felt so much better. Yeah. Dion, where can people find you?
Right here on YouTube, Dion Talk Financial Freedom, where I do a live stream every Tuesday at 4 p.m. Pacific, where the video goes as long as the questions do.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Ciao.